HR questions or human resource questions are unlike all the direct questions or the technical questions. You may be today an engineer or an MBA professional or maybe a law student. When you are going to sit for an interview for any company, obviously, along with the direct questions, there would be HR questions or the human resource questions. Most of the people, they used to crack the interview with all the technical questions or the direct questions for any profession. It may be engineering, medical, or law, as well as in MBA too. But while coming across the HR questions or the human resource questions, these questions are not exactly very direct in nature. Even if the questions are direct in nature, you need to understand on what account the question has been asked and how you are going to respond to that one, so that the answers that you are going to give to a single HR question, it is not only going to hit to the single HR question, but it is going to hit to many other HR questions. Be very tactful in replying to the HR questions. Be very tactful in understanding the intention behind asking that HR question. So, hello everyone, your host, your coach, your mentor, Mr. Dev is here in front of you once again to discuss one of the frequently asked interview question and the HR interview question, in fact, to be more specifically. So, without wasting the time, let's discuss the HR interview question. How would you treat yourself as an asset to the organization? I repeat, how would you treat yourself as an asset to the organization? Now, after listening to this question, most of the people would just think of in their mind, asset? What is an asset? Asset means property. Is it exactly, Mr. Dev, that I'm going to be the property of the organization or the property of the company or the property of the establishment? Not exactly. Not exactly. Asset and liability. To make it very clear, let me give you a simple example so that you can correlate what is an asset and what is a liability. Take, for instance, the first day of your joining. Let us take it the first month of your joining. And in the very first month of the joining, when the recruiter is going to ask you that please try to observe the system, please try to gel up with the system and try to acquaint yourself to the work culture. Here the recruiter is not having much of expectations from you as an employee. Rather, the recruiter is only having this expectation that you should gel up with the system very soon and you should get yourself acquainted to the work culture. So, you give any sort of input to the organization, you add some values to the organization or not, the company is going to pay you the salary. But the second month, obviously, within the first month, if you have gel up with the system, if you have made yourself very acquainted with the work culture, the company must expect a little bit of growth in your work culture, a little bit of growth in your work proceeds. But if you are not still that much capable to handle your responsibility, the company is not going to say you much as a fresher. But for an experienced person, the company do have a little bit of expectation that a candidate who has joined the company and this is the second month of the joining must add a little value to the contribution, must add a little value to the company's growth proceed. But still, you just said, I didn't add much value to the organization. Still, the company is going to pay you the salary. Let us consider the third month. Obviously, if you are a fresher or you are an experienced person, no company is going to pay you the salary without having expectation from your work or without getting some input from your work proceeds. If you are not going to add values, if you are not going to add contribution to the company's growth proceeds, certainly the company is going to give you an alert bell that be very careful. If you are not going to add any values to the company's growth proceeds, the next month you will be fired. Now you can understand, working in a company is a complete give and take policy. How much you give, the company is going to compensate you according to that one. If you are not going to keep the company delighted with your work, the company is also not going to delight you with the salary or with the consideration of compensation being allowed to you to take. So if you have understood exactly what I mean to say, if on the fourth month also you are not capable of giving any contribution to the company's growth proceed, then certainly the company will just think that you are not an asset to the organization, rather you are a liability to the organization. The company is going to pay you, but without getting any return from you. Now, if this is the case, then certainly no company is going to keep you for a long time, and in that case, it would be a complete recipe for disaster. So try to understand the importance of adding values to the company's growth rate, or doing your works or taking your responsibility in a very creative manner and implementing that one for the company's growth. Now, if you don't do this sort of thing, you will never be treated as an asset to the organization. Now, if the concept is very clear, now let me just tell you the answer to this question. So, as you have got to have a clear understanding what is called asset and what is called liability. Liability is that one wherein you expend but you don't get any sort of return. Asset is that one wherein you expend and at the same time you get multiple number of times the return. That is called as asset. Or here, in case of a company's profile, if the company is going to treat you as an asset, that indicates that the company is going to treat you as a part and parcel of the company. Now, if we have discussed up to this much, let us discuss the answer of this question too. Now, the company has asked you, how would you treat yourself as an asset to the organization? Now, your answer should be such like, sir, for any employee to be an asset to the organization must add values to the company's growth proceed. And today, if I am going to join your organization, if I am going to get a job responsibility, and certainly I would be very sincere, very loyal and dedicated towards my work. Apart from that one, with my leadership qualities, with my abilities, with my capabilities and my potentials, I will certainly be very creative with my work profile, and I will try to work in a team and I will try to get the best out of it. With all this, if I contribute my work and dedicate myself to the job or to the responsibility, I certainly do feel that the company is going to treat me as an asset, or I would prove myself to be an asset to the organization. Now, please do remember, when you are just telling about this, the first line is a very common line. Like, for any employee to be an asset, he or she must add values to the company's growth proceed. Now, it is a very general statement. A fresher can give this statement, an experienced person can give this statement. But the second line is all about your strength, your willingness to work, your dedication, your determination, and your loyalty for the organization. Now, once you are going to speak on all the points that you are very good at and that is going to bring a value addition to the organization, that is how it is going to say that you are going to treat yourself, or you are going to prove yourself as an asset to the organization. Always try to think of, my dear all, what is the nature of the question and how I am going to answer to this question. If I am going to give my answer to this question in which direction it is moving, and if it is going to hit to the questions appropriately, what other questions it is going to also prove that yes, I have given the answer to that one. What is the question exactly been asked to you in a HR interview, and the answer in which way, in which manner, with what interpretation you are going to deliver, that exactly decides that whether it would be acceptable by the recruiter or the HR or the manager who is taking your interview. And again and again, as I said you, don't hit your answer only to one question. Your answer should be such like that it is not only going to hit to a single question, but it is also going to give the reply for all the other questions as well. Let us say the HR has asked you this question: how would you prove yourself to be an asset to this organization? The way you have given the answer, it not only justifies that you are going to give the best answer for this question, rather, why should we hire you? What qualities you are having that we should hire you? It also satisfies to a major extent to this question. Although we have discussed the same question, why should we hire you? And you can just see the video in the description link. You can get to have a clear understanding that how we can step by step describe that why should we hire you. Like this, my dear all, we will be having a lot of other questions to be discussed, and a lot of frequently asked questions in our HR interview session will be discussed very carefully and with a minute attention. Thank you for listening to my words. Your host, your coach, your mentor, Mr. Dev is resting his words until the time I'll be bringing some new questions in front of you and some new explanations in front of you. Thank you for listening to me.